I am your host, Harry Kettle. Today we are joined by a very special guest. This woman is the number 4 ranked female bantamweight in the world who holds a 9-5 pro record, and she is on the cusp of earning her first ever UFC title shot. It is none other than Raquel Pennington. Raquel, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. First things first, you've just returned from Detroit where you saw your partner Tisha Torres pick up an important victory. What was that experience like for you? And do you get even more nervous watching Tisha fight than you do when you yourself were inside the octagon?
I think that was the number one question I got asked in Detroit. I was actually pretty stressed out. I felt like the emotions were definitely worse than when I go into the octagon. So, it wasn't her first fight that I've cornered her at, but it's just the more you care, I guess, the more intense it gets. I have no clue, but I was pretty stressed out, and the coaches behind Tisha's back were giving me pep talks, and they're like, "It is okay. She's gonna go out and perform." And I'm like, "No, you don't understand." But overall, it was a good experience. It definitely motivates me with the fact that she gets to go out and she gets to perform, and so I still get to be around everything. This year's definitely been a rough year, so that's always fun for me.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the accident which has kept you from potentially fighting for the title against Amanda Nunes. How have the last few weeks been for you, and has this been even more maybe mentally straining than past injuries given the circumstances?
It was devastating at first when that happened. I obviously got the call 2 weeks prior for the world title shot, and that's what I've worked my entire career for. So to have that, and my spirits were finally lifted after almost a long year of these surgeries with my shoulder surgery, wrist surgery, and then a mouth surgery. So that was exciting and motivating, and I was getting back into the gym. But then this happened, and making that phone call to UFC kind of just it really broke me, and I was really down in the slumps. But then, after I was going to the doctor and I found out how bad things could have been, and the fact that I'm still lucky to have a leg, and I just really found the positive in it. And so from there, I took it for what it's worth, and I decided that I was just going to get stronger than ever. Throughout my shoulder surgery, I was only able to work lower body, and now that I injured my leg, all I can work is upper body. So now I can make sure my shoulder is 100% stronger than it's ever been. It's had its negatives and its pluses, I guess, but um, overall, I think now I'm doing a lot better, and I've definitely been on the grind, and it's just made my hunger that much more intense.
When something like this happens, does it open your eyes in terms of realizing this can kind of all be taken away in an instant? And does it make you think about the future beyond your fighting days?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I do a lot of preventative care as far as when it comes to fighting because I already want to have a future when I'm done fighting. It's a brutal sport on your body, and it's really important to take care of yourself. So I've always thought about that. And then I've always lived a very extreme lifestyle. And I've had some major injuries and whatnot. But you would have thought back in high school I would have learned my lesson when I had my athletic scholarships to college and then I broke my back snowboarding. But you never think of any of that. You know what I mean? I mean, it's the same thing if you get out of bed every day. You can trip and fall, hit your head on the dresser, and something can seriously happen. So, I guess there's risks in everything. I like to enjoy life, but just the fact that I was right there for the opportunity, and I still believe that I'm right there for that opportunity. It's just set back a little bit. Um, it's definitely made me think about, I live in Colorado, and snowboarding's coming up this now, and I'm like, well, my leg's almost healed, but I don't think it would be smart to do anything. So, I've definitely settled.
Now, we were just speaking a little bit about obviously your injury that took place in your hunting accident. In terms of moving forward, are you going to be continuing to go out and doing these kind of things, like you said, enjoying life and making sure that you make the most of things, or are you always going to kind of keep one eye and think, I don't want this to happen. I want to make sure I'm in the most safe environment possible, so the same thing doesn't occur, twice.
Like I said, injuries can happen anytime. You can get out of bed and you can knock your head, and there you go with a head injury. It's kind of one of those freaky accidents. With this injury, I've been hunting ever since I was a little girl. I was 7 years old and never had an issue, and then all of a sudden now, it happened, and but it's kind of one of those things where I've been working really hard for this opportunity, and right now I just feel like I need to find things that are probably a little bit safer and to kind of remain in a bubble. And as far as my coaches and my family, I think I'm on lockdown with them. All my coaches were like, the minute you go into camp, like, we're all going to be rotating and staying at your house and making sure that you're not doing anything crazy and stuff like that. So I think I'll definitely chill out, for sure. So that way, I mean, like I said, it's been a long year, and I definitely want to get back in action. And so right now, I just kind of see that it's not worth it.
So if we switch tracks a bit from the fight game, we've spoken about the hunting and the snowboarding, things that you like. Obviously, Colorado's a good hotbed for things like that. What are some of the other things, some of your favourite hobbies that people may not necessarily be aware of?
I'm very adventurous, so I like anything, and I can find fun in absolutely everything. I love anything that has to do with outdoors. So during the summer, I do lots of hiking, rock climbing. We go cliff jumping, kayaking, jet skiing, wakeboarding, like anything that I can find to do on land, in water. And then when the winter's around, obviously snowboarding, snowshoeing, ice climbing, um, different things like that. I like to do ice fishing, hunting, uh, and then, I mean, I don't know. I just, anything that comes my way that just sounds adventurous or fun, I'm in for it. And then I also like to chill out, and I'll hang out all day and be a homebody and watch movies and bake stuff and cook good food. So I'm just all over the board.
I was about to say, up until you said about the home stuff, that you sound like someone that doesn't really like being indoors very much.
I have my moments. Like I'm very outgoing, and I like to just be out there and do stuff, and then I like to come home and recharge.
So is that the kind of thing you like to do with Tisha? Do you enjoy talking about the whole fight game, and do you enjoy kind of helping each other out in that respect, or do you prefer the downtime, and do you prefer kind of just spending time with each other and doing things outside, like you said, of MMA?
We're actually finding a happy balance. I've never been with somebody who's in the same profession as me, so obviously we had a big common ground there. But now we're actually finding to where we go to the gym, and we're those athletes, we're teammates, and I'll help coach her and do stuff like that. And then once we leave the gym, if she has a fight and she obviously needs to talk about some emotions, or wants to talk about things, we'll talk about things. But other than that, we kind of just we leave it alone, and then we come home and we have our home life, and we'll go out. And she's becoming very adventurous and exploring too. So I'll take her out and show her around Colorado, and then when fights come on the weekends, we'll sit and watch them, and then that's when we talk more about the fight game. So we're finding a balance. It's not always just about the fight life.
Yeah, and we've recently seen a lot more female fighters making a name for themselves, and we've even obviously seen the introduction of a whole new division. Do you feel personally proud, given that you were among the first crop of fighters to actually kind of make your way into the UFC and make a name for yourself? Do you feel proud to see how far this has risen, the kind of the impact of women's MMA in comparison to men's MMA, and how far do you think it can actually go?
Most definitely. I mean, the world has changed so much. It's not about where, the guys are the ones that do everything and then the women have their roles. Now it's like all about equality. I mean, we're right there just along with men, and we can do the same exact things, and we have to work 10 times harder to obviously get in certain places such as the UFC and stuff like that. But now, I mean, it's phenomenal to see what's happening and to actually give girls of all different sizes these opportunities just to chase their dream and be on one of the biggest stages. And I think sky's the limit. I mean, anything that the guys can do, we can do with them. So we deserve all the opportunity as well.
So, as we take a step back, in terms of your winning streak, just before you kind of went into that little winning streak, you lost 2 out of 3 fights via split decision, and after coming so close against people like Jessica Andrade and Holly Holm, is it kind of deflating to know you were so close to victory, or with the nature of those losses, what spurred you on to becoming even better fighter and going on the streak, and then getting that win back against someone like Jessica?
It goes pretty in depth. It's not just when we fought, hey, it happened to be their night, they won. But I don't think they're the ones that truly beat me. I believe that I beat myself before even walking into the octagon on those nights. It goes more further than just being out under the spotlights. As an amateur, I just had this insane drive and this insane passion, and I was having fun with what I was doing. and just really rocking my career. I went pro and I was rocking my career and just having fun. And then, or like, as I went pro, I was still kind of having fun, but then it changed and it started feeling like a job. There was all kinds of people trying to jump into the pot. That's when I was really like building a name for myself. There was a huge transition in gyms. The gym that I was originally with, they fell apart, and then living around all the drama, and I'm a very loyal person, so I was trying to hang into everything, and then it just became too much. And at one point in time, like, I didn't even have a gym. I was actually just kind of training myself and doing my own things. And then I went to the Ultimate Fighter and was pushing for different stuff. But then even after that, like, still trying to find a happy home, find coaches who I genuinely trust. There was a lot more that went into it. And then I think it really came down. So when people ask me, like, what's something that you can tell younger kids, I always tell them just to make sure that they're always having fun, because I believe when you're having fun, your passion is insane and you're always going to perform at your greatest. But when you're not having fun, like, that plays a huge toll. And in those moments, it kind of became one of those things where, like, I felt like I was honestly rolling through the motions. It wasn't about winning or losing for me. I was just going in there and doing whatever. And then afterwards, like, it was like, why did I even do that? Like, I'm better than what I'm doing. So I needed to step back and I needed to reevaluate things. And it was either I walk away, or basically I pull my head out of my butt and I take some time off, and then I come back in and put my full heart into it. And that's basically what I did. I took some time off and I regrouped and thought a lot about things. And then I just became that athlete that I've always been growing up. And I got back into the gym and it was just totally different hunger, totally different passion, and total different determination. And so I've been on a mission ever since then.
So when you were growing up, you mentioned something about an athletics scholarship. Is MMA something that you knew about quite a lot when you were younger, or is it something that you kind of realised was maybe something that you could get into as time went on? What was that process like for you compared to coming up with the athletics background?
All I knew a lot about was beating up my guy cousins. Like, we were always fighting, and I have one cousin who's 5 months difference in age than me, and me and him they call us Chip and Dale, and we were just always beating the crap out of each other and being like brothers and sisters and just acting all crazy. And then I was the big tomboy in the neighborhood and going out and playing tackle football on the pavement, and then I was in every sport that you can think of except for any sort of martial arts. My cousin, he did karate and I was around that, but I never had an interest in it. I was always into different sports: basketball, volleyball, softball, cross country. I played some football, played actual baseball. And then I liked to wrestle the guys. And then one of my friends growing up, her dad, he was actually a professional boxer, and then her brothers were professional boxers. So I was around like the boxing, and it was very intriguing, but my parents would never let me like box. They said I was too pretty and my teeth were too nice. So I just kind of, I did my own thing. And then I always had the dream of, going to school, playing basketball, and then going into the WNBA. And then when I injured myself, things kind of changed. And I was joking with my mom because I always wanted to box, and she said no. And then I seen MMA, and it seemed a little bit more intense. You got kicks coming at you, you got knees, you got elbows, you have wrestling, you have jiu-jitsu, and it was just a little bit more violent. So I was like, I'm gonna go do that. And at this point, I think she was looking for anything just to help me get my motivation back. So then I started training, and I fell in love, and it was just, I love it. I love challenges, and MMA constantly challenges me. So that's what's fun about it. And it was just, I started 10 years ago, and it was the first thing I ever knew about any type of martial arts.
It's interesting because it seems like quite a lot of athletes, they sustain these injuries when they're trying to go down one path or one sport, and then they end up falling into something, whether it be MMA, boxing, or maybe even something like professional wrestling or something like that, where they're still able to compete at a very high level despite the injury they sustained. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because you get more time off during kind of between fights as opposed to basketball, where it would be quite high demand?
I have no idea. I think that things happen the way that they're meant to be. And, I think it's just kind of one of those things where when we do have the time off due to one injury, we just kind of find another passion somewhere. And it's just something that I think MMA, as far as most people, it just really draws them in. There's so much to learn, there's so much to do, and it's a challenge. And most athletes just, they really enjoy challenges and becoming the best and that competitiveness. And that's what MMA does to you and brings out in you. And then it builds a confidence behind it all too. So I think that MMA in general is just a sport that just really draws people in. And then once you're there, it's hard to get away from, type thing.
Now, moving forward, what do you think some of the things in your life are going to be the most crucial elements of your recovery and your eventual comeback? Are there certain things in your life that you know you're going to have in place, and they're going to have to be rock solid in order for you to get back 100%, get back as quickly as possible, and make sure everything is going to be even better than it was before?
I think it's just everything. I believe that no matter what you're doing, you like if you're trying to focus on a fight, you got to make sure that your home life is good, and just everything around you that you surround yourself, the life that you build. You have to have positivity around every which way. So it's just, it might be little things for certain people, it might be big things for other people, and it might be the most random things. And for me, I think it's just making sure my relationship with Tisha is 100% great, and we're happy, and we're 100% supportive to each other. My family relationships are great. My friend relationships are great. I take huge pride and joy in all my hard work and the house that I bought for Tisha and and I like to make sure that everything's like organized and clean and in place. And so it's just like, that little thing. And then making sure all my coaches are on board and we have a solid game plan, making sure that my leg injury, there's no question in my mind. My sports psychology is lined up, and then the same thing with my shoulder injury, make sure there's no question in my mind with that. And then once all that's in place, like all I can do is go in and put in hard work and dedication every single day, and just have fun through the whole process and work my butt off for those weeks throughout a fight camp, and then go out and shine when that moment comes.
And one final question. What do you think the next 18 to 24 months have in store for Raquel Pennington?
I think that, I always said that 2017 was going to be my year, and for some reason it seemed to be my year to fall apart, is what I say now. But I honestly feel that I am climbing a mountain, and I'm going to be the best of me, and that's yet to come, which is really exciting. I'm extremely motivated. I've been going through and really figuring out my body. I've done like a lot of testing and stuff like that to figure out my hormones as a female athlete and just get everything lined up. And then, I'm doing all the small things because of these injuries. So I really took my body back to like square one, and I'm basically building it from the ground up to make sure everything's all in place and becoming stronger than ever. So I honestly think that the next few months that you said are just, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be the best of me. I'm going to put on performances that people have never seen. I think that I'm going to really show myself a big difference, and I truly believe that I will be world champion.
Well, Raquel, it's been fantastic speaking with you today. We can't wait to see your road to recovery and the next few steps on your journey.
Thank you. It's been an honor talking to you.